Alright, so I've got this radio. I've got it all taken apart now. But I was trying to find a way to put Bluetooth in this radio the cheapest way possible on the most extreme budget build. So I've had this for probably a year and a half now, and it still works great, and I like the sound of it. So I'm going to try to put it in this motherboard, build it in the radio. I think they make Bluetooth radios of this year model, but it's an 07 Chevy Impala. I'm trying to see. So I was just looking at the motherboard because some of them are labeled, and I got lucky. Since this one does have an aux on it, I have an aux right, an aux left, and an aux ground. So, and it does have an aux port on it, but nobody likes having to turn that thing on and off. So I'm gonna have it where it's constant power, always working. So now I have to take this apart, and I'm going to solder it into those connections on the back. Alright, so I got this cable ran to where the aux port is underneath this part. And I got it ran all the way underneath it to come out right here. And then I'm about to solder. Alright, so that's what it ended up looking like. I don't know if you can tell that that's the white in the middle. But, dang dude, it won't focus at all. So yeah, black, white. And hopefully that works. My only concern right now is this one has a power button on it, so I'm going to have to figure out how to bypass this power button. I'm going to try to take it off and see if I can just join two wires together, like jump it and have a constant power going to it after it's plugged in. So, alright guys, so I decided to go a different route because I cooked the old... this probably would have worked, but I think I fried it. I took the battery off of it and hooked it straight up to like a 5-volt battery supply, and this says right here 3.7 volts. So the light that there has like 3 different lights on the back of it. These 3 right here won't focus. It won't focus. Okay, those 3 lights right there. They're supposed to light up whenever you hold this down and switch it on, but it's not doing anything anymore, so I cooked that one. So anyway, I got 2 different devices, and so this is the one that I like. I put it up in the car and it works. It connects super fast. You can leave it on all the time, and so I figured this one would work pretty good. Just USB it, so I know there won't be a ground loop interference either because it's always USB. So I left these wires on here that I already soldered, and after I stripped this one apart, I don't even know if this is going to be right, but I stripped it apart, and it's just these 3 wires. There's no other coating around them. It doesn't look like these wires coming out of here where it's copper wrapped around plastic. So hopefully this works. Maybe it's just painted or something, I don't know. It confuses me, but that's how I hooked it up. So I'll put it back together now. Alright, so I got them hooked up, and then I hit them in electrical tape so nothing bad happens to them. But I'm gonna put this back together. All I have is the frame with me, but I can't do anything without the CD player being hooked up. So I have to put that together, put the face back on it and that back on it, just to be able to test it. So alright, so picking back up where I left off, this little doohickey is a great choice. I love this thing, other than it took me a while to figure out. So there's 3 wires that come out of this at the very end of the winding where the aux cord I cut off is, and the 3 wires are blue, red, and one that's like a solid copper. It just looks like regular open copper. So I'm not sure exactly how it works. I thought they'd be coated in like, rubber, like anything extra, like anything like this where it's wrapped in, plastic or something. But it was nothing like that. It's just 3 different open wires, and you have to solder it. I think it's painted, and that paint keeps the wires from touching. But anyway, when you solder these wires together, it works out just right. So I think it melts that paint or whatever it is that coats it, that keeps it protected. Anyway, so this is the same way I've done it before. The ground is at the same spot, so I just have it ran out here, and I've been playing with this ever since. And so right now I have the red one hooked up to the right and left side. So those two wires that come off of it, I join them together, and then the blue wire I have hooked up to the ground, and it works across the board. I was having a problem. It was only coming out of the right side of the car, but the other side didn't work. So I just played with it and finagled it a few times and figured out that worked. So now I ordered some female USB things on Amazon. I'll link that too whenever I get done with it and show you guys. But yeah, it'll be a sweet little build, completely hidden. So if you ever do have to take the radio out, you can just unplug this and you'll have no big issues. So now I get to put it all back together. So I got it all put back together. I'm just saying, don't forget about these, because I almost did and thought I had extra screws. And whenever you do start putting all this stuff back together, because it has to come completely apart, make sure, I forgot about this one screw, but I had taken it apart so many times I didn't think about it, but I got 3 screws in it, so I'm not worried about it, and I got all of it put together by the time I realized it. But so I got this fed through here, you know, where the antenna thing is. There's plenty of room. There'll be plenty to plug in that antenna right there, but you could also put it right here, or you could drill you a hole on the bottom of this anywhere if you wanted to, but it's perfectly fine right there. My recommendation is putting this back together. Put this back panel piece back on first and screw in the CD player. The other screw for it's behind this, you have to screw it in first before you put the side panel on. It's just the easiest way to do it. And when you're putting this, the last piece you'll put on is the top, and you'll screw this screw in first and it'll suck it to this side, and then once you do that, you get these 2 screws in it. But it's got 2 little prongs right here. It's a prong there and a prong there, and it grabs onto that case. But anyway, I'll update you on when I get it put in. Alright guys, so I got the radio put back in here, and this is what the mess looks like. Now that power brick I was talking about, you can't see it, let me turn that flash on. It falls right down in there just perfectly. I'm trying to get it out. But it fits in there. Like, that is the perfect cubby hole for it, right in there. But that's my power and ground wires. I haven't hooked them up yet. And it also has an extra wire for turn on if you ever did want to add like a sub amp or something. But that's what it looks like. I got the whole wiring harness. If y'all want me to take this out later and show y'all what I did to make this work, I can show y'all as well. But it is completely separate from the OEM plugs. So these are the OEM plugs, and this is the input for the amp, and that's that side right here. I just have them coming out differently, and this is the OEM plugs. So these will plug right into the factory plugs, and then from there I figured out which wires go to which ones are your speaker wires, and then that runs to your amp, and then through your amp comes out, and that's where I have the outputs for the amp output. And so it's all speaker level input, nothing crazy. But I can pull this out and show y'all what I did if y'all wanted me to one day. But this is just part of a upgrade, so super easy. I'll show you what it looks like after I get it plugged in and set in there. Oh well, I ran this. So the actual USB, I ran it, I tucked it through there, and then I reached behind it back here and grabbed it, and it tucks up underneath here just perfect. And I plugged it into USB, just temporary. I don't have what I need to get this thing just right, so I'm gonna tap into the power supply of the 12-volt plug eventually. I have that at home right now, I just haven't had time to get to it. And anyway, I'll get this all set back in there, and I can completely tuck away all those wires if I don't want to run the amp. So yeah, I'll show you guys. And do note, whenever I cut the end of this USB part off, you want to keep that end, and you can make it look like whatever you want to, but it won't let you select the aux button unless you have something put in the aux port. Now I don't know why it does that, but here, I'll switch it on. And power, CD, aux. So if this isn't plugged in, it won't read anything, but my phone's not connected to it right now. I'll show you in a second. Alright, so these I got off Amazon, and this is what I'm going to use to built in the Bluetooth where it doesn't need a 12-volt socket. So this is on the power and ground. I just soldered it in and I'm about to tape it up, and this can actually be fished back through underneath there, so it's going to go still behind the radio, so I can still unplug it if I need to ever take the radio out again. And all those trim pieces just popped off, just smashing the brake, and then put your emergency brake in, pull this back, and then this all comes off and pulls out. But the cigarette lighter was a trick. It sits in 2 notches right there and in the back, and then you see those little slots, so that's where it popped in.